setback in the municipal elections on Wednesday, losing the elections in Sonipat and Ambala, as well as 3 of the 5 civic polls in the state. This is of course a setback for the Manohar Khattar government in the state, but it isn't just a setback for him. His neighbor Punjab, the Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amarinder Singh, too finds himself in the middle of the devil and the deep sea amid a consistent and raging farmers' protest that refuses to die down. How this farmers' protest is affecting the politics of both the states is what we'll be discussing today in the live with DK Singh. But before that, I'd like to make an appeal to all our viewers to please pay a little and subscribe to ThePrint. As you know, good journalism costs money, and for us to keep consistently giving you news from across the country, we need some help. So tell us, DK, what do you think exactly is at play here in both the states?
It's a very interesting situation. You know, you have on the one hand, you have the Haryana Chief Minister who was actually always opposed to this farmers' agitation.
Yeah.
Actually, he said that, you know, there are no farmers from Punjab, from Haryana. The farmers who have gathered on the Delhi border, they are all from Punjab. Then he actually later on he went on to say that, you know, it's they are not actually the representative of farmers. They are those who are politically motivated. So he has been basically taking pot shots at these farmers. Now, yesterday's results will come as a shocker because it will actually put his government on a spot of bother. Because look, there's JJP of Dushyant Chautala. We are talking about these elections in the Jat stronghold. Now, JJP has done very badly. JJP and BJP went into an alliance in this election. And they have done very badly.
Yeah.
So, there are clear signals that this farmers' agitation has had an impact on these poll results. Apart from the fact, of course, that, you know, Congress per se might not have gained a lot, but when you talk about Congress in Haryana, it's actually Bhupinder Singh Hooda. Officially, you have Kumari Selja, the party president in Haryana, then you have some other leaders, but Hooda has been kind of undermined by the party high command. But he has come on top because in Sonipat, he was the one who spearheaded the Congress's campaign, and there the Congress has got its own mayor. In Ambala, Hooda was not even invited to campaign, and Ambala is Kumari Selja's constituency.
Yeah.
There the Congress lost because Hooda was not even called. So you had Randeep Singh Surjewala and Kumari Selja campaigning all across, and the party has done very poorly. You look at other, of course, the BJP won the Panchkula has got a BJP mayor now, and then BJP won also this Rewari Municipal Council. But the 3 other municipal committees, the Dharuhera, Sampla and Uklana happens to be the hometown of Kumari Selja, by the way. But all these places, they are the independents backed by Hooda who have actually won. So Hooda has had a tremendous run in this election. And given that Hooda has actually proved yet again that he is the man to watch for, and he is the one who remains the face of the Congress there, and he has total command over the Jat, in the Jat belt. Now that will actually shatter Dushyant Chautala's confidence because he has always been in a dilemma over this farmers' agitation. More than half of his MLAs are actually supporting this agitation, and Chautala is not able to take a clear call. So there will be some kind of impact on the JJP's strategy about this. And if MLAs, look, the Haryana Assembly, the way it's structured now, JJP becomes very crucial for the BJP government survival. Yeah. If JJP MLAs, many of whom are actually pretty upset with Dushyant Chautala, if they take signals from this election and decide to kind of walk away or, you know, have talks with Hooda, Khattar government will be in trouble. So here we are talking about Haryana, where the Chief Minister has taken this stand against the farmers' agitation. He is in trouble. In Punjab, Captain Amarinder Singh is in trouble not because his government is under threat, but his problem is he suddenly, you know, you cannot be seen as losing control on the state machinery. Now this law and order situation that is being created by, you know, so many geo towers have been vandalized, corporate houses are being targeted. Now if you have lined up investment in your estate, Assembly elections, the next assembly elections in Punjab are just about 13-14 months away. You cannot have any law and order situation. Then you see the Aam Aadmi Party actually making inroads into those belts, like among farmers. You saw Kejriwal going to Singhu border and addressing the farmers. And the assessment of the Congress says the AAP is gaining ground. Now, Shiromani Akali Dal might have lost ground in Punjab, but AAP gaining ground is not a good signal for the Congress. And Captain Amarinder Singh has to be upset about this, because AAP might have lost a bit of ground. See, from 2017 onwards, AAP has consistently lost ground. It remains totally faction-ridden. But if there is resurgence of the AAP, the captain has to worry about it.
Yeah.
So,
We have some questions coming in. Manoj Kumar is asking, is there a chance the Khalistan issue is going to be revived by using this protest as a plank? Since lately we've been hearing this in the news repeatedly.
see, Punjab government had been worried about it. It did not want this identity politics to be back. But unfortunately, you saw many of the union ministers who started talking about, Khalistani elements being part of this agitation, protest. In fact, yesterday, Defense Minister Haryana Singh has done well. I mean, he has clarified that, it's wrong to call them Khalistanis or Naxals. Don't call them Khalistan or Naxals. They're farmers. But then it's like playing good cop, bad cop. I mean, some ministers go around saying like Khalistanis are supporting agitation, they are part of it, and then another minister comes and says, no, it's not the case. But the fact is, yes, there is this real fear of identity politics gaining ground in Punjab, and that's something I'm told even Chief Minister Amarinder Singh is worried about.
Right. Abhishek Mukherjee is asking, if BJP is able to resolve the agitation, can it turn this into an opportunity to grow in Punjab? That's a big if.
Maybe again going by, because before coming here I was just talking to some leaders in Punjab. Their assessment is, if it becomes like a Sikh versus Hindu thing, because the people who are gathered and people who are agitated, most of them are Sikhs.
Yeah.
And if somehow Hindus kind of get left out, or there is some division between the two communities
In Punjab.
that may help BJP, because BJP, look, in Punjab, without the Shiromani Akali Dal as an ally now, the BJP did not have much support base, and in the last election, Hindus had actually swung towards the Congress.
Yeah.
And that's somehow, I'm not very sure about it, but somehow the way the BJP has gone about projecting this entire agitation as Sikh-led, or bringing in talks like Khalistanis, Naxals, I think the BJP is trying to gain sympathy among the Hindus there. I mean, that could be part of the strategy. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah. Tarush is asking, last year when there was the CAA protest, government used force to counter it. Why is the government not using any force to clear the farmers' protest?
You can't do that. CAA protests were sporadic, and then you do not have thousands of people coming out. Now, if you look at the gathering at Gazipur or Singhu border, it's huge. The gathering is huge. You cannot use force. It's very difficult. You will have to actually engage them in talks. That is not to say that force against the CAA protesters was justified. But point was, it was serving some political interest of the BJP then
Also different constituencies who are protesting.
Are different. Here, going against farmers, I mean, this does not remain limited to Haryana or Punjab. You act against farmers, the wrong message will go all across, and BJP cannot afford to do that.
What are these rumors about Reliance and Adani still working with farmers and people of Punjab and Haryana?
Corporate houses, working there, you set up your business, you do your business. It's not like you're part of politics.
You're concerned with money.
Yeah.
Hasn't the centre become too powerful in the case of Andhra Pradesh bifurcation, scrapping of 370 farm laws, etc.? Since all these issues are issues of federalism, doesn't this imply that the centre is becoming all too powerful?
Yeah, he has a point, because all along we have, in fact, our colleague Mosmi Das Gupta did a piece also, how this so-called federal spirit is missing now, because you see the centre constantly in a collision course with opposition rule estates on some issues or the other. Even on farm laws, if you go by, there are differences of opinion, whether you should have left it to the state to get into it, whether the centre had the remit to do the kind of reform that it has done. Things are in the court also. We'll see what happens. But yes, this has been a big question that we have been trying to deal with. And the centre-state relations are not actually as good as you would expect it to be. Although when Narendra Modi came to power, became the Prime Minister, he started giving a call for collaborative federalism.
Yeah.
And as a Chief Minister, he was a big advocate of this collaborative federalism. Somehow that spirit is missing now. The centre needs to look at it. Probably it has to be looking at it very consciously. You can, for political reasons, you keep targeting the Chief Ministers. The other day we heard he was targeting the governments of Kerala and West Bengal. Well, it's par for the course in democracy. But then as the Prime Minister, when you start attacking state governments, it's something that he should be very careful about.
Yeah. The slippery slope.
Yeah.
Sachin Nayak is asking, do you think BJP will lose any seats in Haryana in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, the next Lok Sabha elections?
Lok Sabha, then that, after that you have assembly elections also. But again, going by the results yesterday, BJP must be worried because you cannot lose your control over Jat belt. I mean, of course, what BJP tried was by bringing in Manohar Khattar, who is a Punjabi Khatri. BJP was trying to counter that Congress or INLD's domination over Jat votes there by bringing a non-Jat. And BJP's politics has been actually somehow anti-Jat in Haryana because BJP has been trying to rally around other communities. But that's the same case what the BJP did in other states also. We discussed it earlier.
Yeah.
In Jharkhand, it brought a non-tribal face. In Maharashtra, it got a Brahmin face, not a non-Maratha face. So its politics has, but the political strategy has been that, when you talk about a dominant community, dominant community is what? Say 25%, 30% of the population. So you try to rally around the rest of the 70% and try to break that domination. So in Haryana, Jats constitute about 25 to 27% of the population. And they are all estimates, of course.
Yeah.
Then BJP was targeting the rest of the 73% of the population. So that was the strategy. But then if it grows into a farmers' protest, that Jats, it's not that only Jats are farmers.
Yeah.
So if it becomes a big farmers' issue and it's not just about Jats, this is something that will hurt the BJP in Assembly and Lok Sabha elections. But everything depends on how the centre deals with this agitation now. Because if there is an amicable solution, yesterday also centre had talks with the farmers,
Right.
and on 2 of the demands centre actually agreed, and on 2 talks are still on. So somehow if the centre is able to put the things down, elections are still 4 years away.
Right.
So
Manoj is asking, what should be done by the parties and the central government in the future so that Punjabis won't get a feeling that they are living in a country where the BJP's goal is to make India a Hindu Rashtra? To not alienate
I
them.
don't know. I don't really subscribe to the theory that Punjabis feel that is the BJP's goal. I don't really subscribe to that.
That Punjabis don't feel that way. You don't think
Yeah, but if that's what he means.
they imply?
I mean, that's not really my assessment.
Okay. Raghav Bakshi is asking, who will benefit most if the farmers' protest goes on till the Bengal elections or the subsequent elections? Which
We
parties
haven't
will
really
likely to benefit?
seen any resonance in West Bengal of this agitation. Mamata Banerjee has, of course, supported the farmers,
Yeah.
for farmers' agitation. But on the ground in West Bengal, we haven't really seen any crowd, any gathering of farmers protesting against these farm laws. So that's not a big issue in West Bengal election so far.
Maybe in the other North Indian states, do you think that's
Even
more
other North
likely?
Indian states, no, not much. We have seen, you have some gatherings somewhere in Shahjahanpur on Rajasthan Haryana border.
Yeah.
You have it in Ghazipur here. People are coming from UP. So different political parties or mainly opposition parties are mobilizing the farmers, but the impact is not very visible across the country. So far it has been limited to Punjab and Haryana, mostly.
Who will be the AAP's face in Punjab?
Very difficult to say. I mean, I would say, look, in 2019 Lok Sabha election, the only Lok Sabha seat the AAP won across the country was Sangrur, which was won by Bhagwat Mann. And he remains a very popular leader in Punjab. But then Punjab AAP is totally splintered. We don't know how things will play out. Because right now, even the AAP high command or Kejriwal has not been to Punjab for, I think, for a year or so. So it's not showing that much interest, because look, AAP's graph also came down, plummeted very badly. If you look at its vote share, in 2014, of course, AAP won 4 Lok Sabha seats.
Yeah.
In 2017 assembly election, from 4, it came to 1 in 2019. Look at the assembly elections. I mean, in 2017 assembly election, AAP got about 23% votes and emerged as a single as the principal opposition party with 20 seats, as against Shiromani Akali Dal's 15. But that 17% vote came down to, 23% votes came down to about 7%, 7 point something in the Lok Sabha election. So the ground beneath the AAP's feet was shifting in Punjab. Whether this farmers' agitation will bring some chunk of supporters back to the AAP, we don't know. But the Congress actually feels that AAP is gaining ground. Yes.
Parimal A is asking, if the government withdraws the farm bills, will it turn out to be the death knell for further economic reforms? Is India condemned to remain poor forever?
If it does, yes. I would say yes if it does. But I don't think the government is going to do that. The Prime Minister is very clear on this.
Do you think just the fact that it's willing to agree on a lot of the demands, 2 out of 4, diluting what it had initially proposed? Do you think?
Because look, there is this growing realization even within the government that there are certain things which were overlooked while drafting these laws.
Yeah.
So there are certain loopholes, some problems with the laws. Those can be sorted out through amendments. But the bigger picture is pretty clear to the government that no, there will be no repeal of these laws. Amendments are okay. I mean, the government is ready to bring those amendments.
Okay. Devanshu Kumar is asking, do you think RSS has invested too much in Modi? If he goes down, will he take all of RSS with him? I'm not sure what the background of this question.
Invested too much, yes. The way the RSS has grown, I mean, all over the country, its shakhas have been growing, and suddenly it has. Earlier, how many of us knew about what Mohan Bhagwat is doing or saying on a day-to-day basis?
Yes.
Today, every day, we get to know that Mohan Bhagwan is doing that, Mohan Bhagwan is doing this. So RSS, of course, has gained in prominence actually, and it's branching out also in new areas. So of course, Modi has helped the RSS, but Modi is the RSS. So helping the RSS, not just Modi, I mean this government, most of the people you see in the government as ministers, they all have RSS background.
Yeah.
So it's a natural thing, you expected it to happen.
Yeah. Sachin Naik is asking, why did the BJP win in Karnataka rural elections recently, even though farmers are protesting?
See, Karnataka, I am not very sure, because in Karnataka, these rural polls, it was not contested on political lines, in the sense that you do not have a party symbol. So these people were not contesting on party symbols.
Yeah.
So suddenly you find BJP claiming that, okay, most of the candidates who have won were backed by us. Congress is claiming the same. So it's very difficult to take a call on this. But yeah, internally you know. So within the BJP, you would know whether the party candidates have done well. I mean, we may not get to know exactly, or probably will take some time to get to know about this, because both parties are claiming victories. But it will do some good to Yediyurappa, who actually, as we are given to understand, he may be on his way out sooner than later. Because BJP wants to go for a leadership change, and Yediyurappa must prove that the BJP has done extremely well in this election for him to survive.
Yeah. Manish Chabra is asking, is it BJP's masterstroke to show the farmers that Congress, SAD and AAP are all the same in Punjab? BJP will now get urban Punjabis to vote for it in the Lok Sabha.
No, sorry, I didn't get a question.
I'm not entirely sure, but I believe the implication is that will all the opposition parties now seem the same to the farmers, given that
Congress has withdrawn a bit. We have spoken about Capt. Amarinder Singh, because he is a chief minister also. He is not just a Congress leader. But what has happened in Punjab is, Rahul Gandhi is backing the farmers. Rahul Gandhi is backing this demand for repeal of these laws.
Very aggressively.
And he is doing it very aggressively. That does not leave much elbow room for the chief minister to actually manage this. So we are told he is extremely concerned about this situation. He wants it to end. And look, you also know that Modi government is not going to repeal these laws. So what do you get if it continues like this? And
Do
suppose
you
it
think
turns
Amarinder Singh
violent?
though benefits if it continues electorally? Because it becomes a
Not
poll
really.
plank.
Look, it's like, again, we'll talk about politics of diminishing returns. So Amarinder Singh, when it happened, he got a resolution passed in the assembly against these laws. He himself led a tractor rally of farmers, and you saw how Amarinder Singh and Rahul were sitting on the two sides of the tractor,
Yeah.
right in the front. But after that, Amarinder Singh has become a bit moderate, and you don't really hear him talking so aggressively about this farmers' agitation anymore, because he's also the chief minister. He has to ensure that there is no problem with the law and order situation. And if it turns ugly, Amarinder Singh cannot afford to actually lose control over this. Now, in an election year, as I said, election is just about a year away.
Yeah. Kush Bagri is asking, will these farmer protests make our democracy stronger? Because now BJP will think twice before implementing disastrous decisions like the demonetization.
Let's see how it works. I don't know. But yes, I'm sure that within the BJP there is realization that they should have probably gone for
Consultations,
more consultations.
Yeah.
But whether it actually has an impact on the functioning of the government, I'm not sure, because all the time we have seen this government believes in like going ahead with something, announcing something, and then later on coming, we saw how the GST was implemented, demonetization you have talked about, CAA again, 370 again. So this lack of consensus building process sometimes does hurt this government, and these farm laws are another instance.
Yeah. Manish is further asking, what's the future of Navjot Singh Sidhu in Punjab politics?
Well, sometime back, Navjot Singh Sidhu actually disappeared from the scene for about a year after his fight with Capt. Amarinder Singh.
Yeah.
But last month he returned and he had lunch with Amarinder Singh. The two must have sorted out things, and I'm given to understand that Amarinder Singh is ready to bring him back into his cabinet. And Sidhu also, you cannot go beyond a point. You quit the BJP, you're in the Congress, and the fact is his stature is not as big as that of Captain Amarinder Singh. Amarinder Singh remains the Congress's face in Punjab. He is the main vote getter. Sidhu is popular, but he cannot be too ambitious at this point as long as Captain Amarinder Singh is around. So, but I think at some point of time, some rapprochement is likely. Sidhu was earlier trying to be very rigid about his stand, and he was not even talking with Captain Amarinder Singh. But now that the two have met, we are not privy to the details of what actually transpired there. But we are given to understand that yes, the talk was that Amarinder Singh wants him back, and Sidhu wants his old portfolios back. So it's still something like we are watching, and we'll see how it turns out.
Finally, Tanveer Panjwani is asking, as per the BJP, their seat increased in Hyderabad local council, and that was a support or mandate to the farmers bill that showed that they support the farm bills. But now BJP's loss in Haryana local council will be seen as a verdict against the BJP. So how exactly does this play out?
I won't really say farmers bill, because in Hyderabad, the farmers bills were hardly an issue.
Yeah.
So first time actually you have this, or probably before these local polls in Punjab, municipal polls in Haryana, you had Bihar elections. They did pretty well, and the protests against those farm laws did not have much impact on the BJP's fortune in Bihar. So BJP did pretty well there. So in Haryana, because that's the epicenter of all that agitation, Punjab and Haryana, we have seen this result yesterday. Let's see how it works out, but it will definitely have a bearing on the BJP's fortune in future, and even in the immediate term, I would say, because JJP will be watching the JJP very closely. JJP have just 10 MLAs. So you have Dushan Chautala, his mother. Now 6 of his MLAs have already gone ahead and publicly declared that they are supporting the farmers.
Yeah.
After yesterday's results, more MLAs will be jittery actually, because you don't want to lose your constituents, and they have the option. If you look at the assembly there in Haryana, out of you need 46 for the majority, Congress has 31. Then you add say 6 or 7 of JJP. JJP will split. 6 are obviously in a rebellious mood. If they become 7, they can split and form their own party, or they can claim that we are the party. And if they join hands with Huda, and we have seen half a dozen independent MLAs also who met earlier, and they're also they're pretty upset about the happenings in Haryana right now.
Yeah.
Because Khattar in the second term is not being seen as a performer. So if you start adding 31 of the Congress, 6 or 7 of the JJP, half a dozen independent MLAs, and there are a couple of others, then Khattar government may be in trouble. And so yesterday's result, I am sure BJP will be analyzing it very closely, and probably will start taking remedial measures, although I'm not sure what it can do.
Right. All right, we're tracking the farmers' protest very, very closely, as well as all the politics surrounding it. Please do log on to theprint.in for more such updates, and thank you so much for watching.